Hey everyone, it's me Holly. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be giving advice to year 10s that are going into year 11 because I kind of wish there was a video to tell me things that I really wanted to know. Because obviously your teachers can tell you as much as they can, but at the end of the day, it's probably better coming from someone who's just come out of year 11, you know? But yeah, also listen to your teachers because they do have good advice sometimes. But yeah, if you're looking for advice just in general, like maybe starting secondary school or going into year 7, 8, 9, 10, I will do separate video on all of them combined. But just for year 11 alone, I wanted to do its own video because there's just so much to say about it because it is the final year of secondary school. Let's just get into the video. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say you've got this. I know you're probably thinking this is going to be the hardest year you're ever gonna have, and it could be, you genuinely don't know. And even if you weren't going into year 11, any year could be your hardest year. You just, who knows? But a lot of people do tend to think year 11 is going to be the hardest because it is the final year where you're going to do all your GCSEs if you haven't done one already in year 10, but most of them in year 11. And it is a lot to think about, I think the main thing that is an issue is the overthinking. Now, at the time, you probably just think that, what you've got in your head is exactly what's going to happen, and that's why you're so stressed about it. But at the end of the day, your expectations of what it's going to be like are 100% going to change because nothing is how it seems. Because from an outside perspective, when I was in year 10, looking at all the year 11s, I thought they're going through so much. Obviously they are, but looking at them, I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I could literally do all those exams right now. It's too much. But then when you're in year 11, obviously, yes, there's so much you need to think about and so much you need to do, and you have to dedicate a lot of your time to prepare for your exams. But there is also other things that you are doing at the same time. It's not like you're like a human robot. You're not constantly boom, 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 doing all this stuff. You do have time to yourself occasionally. And you will have, I would say you would have freedom. It just depends how you perceive your exams. Because if you're constantly so caught up on them from the beginning to the end, your mind's never going to allow you to be free. But if hopefully later on I can clear some of this negative thoughts about it out so that hopefully you can feel a bit more free while going into it. But yeah, I just need to start with the first thing. So debunking misconceptions. So I've got a list what I want to talk about. Debunking misconceptions. Okay, so obviously I've already started talking about that, it's going to be so stressful and blah blah blah. And I've got to say, at the start of year 11 I was so confused because there was teachers still doing loads of end of term exams or mid-term exams, and I was like, there's so much to do. And I think, I can't lie, the mock exams were way, way, way worse than actually doing the exams, because in the mock exams, you're going to be sitting in class getting your results for that, and you've got your teachers to talk to about it, and they've got their own expectations for you. And also, if you don't do well, then you're going to be questioned about it, and then you got to do better. And then there's more in a mock exam. That you can do it again, but at the end of the day, it's worse because it's you have to do it again. And if you haven't got a good grade, it's going to really take down your self-esteem. And if you've got a high one, you might be thinking, oh god, how am I going to do that again? When you actually do the exams, and I will heavily focus on exams a little bit later on, but when you go and do the exams, once you've done one, that's it. I don't think there was a more nicer feeling than being able to come home and just cross off that exam. You don't have to think about it again unless you feel like you will retake it. But in that moment, don't think about retaking anything. Just think about the fact that you've done it. Because at the end of the day, you won't need that knowledge again unless you're going to move on with it. But I'm guessing if you want to do it in sixth form or college, you enjoy it in a certain sense. You know what I mean? But I think, yeah, the mock exams was way more stressful. And there was a time when I was doing my DV and I had to do end of year assessments. And I remember there was this one weekend which I had to do, like, it was a DOV practice weekend, and I also had a history assessment on the Monday, and it was my granddad's birthday, so I had to go, like, I had to celebrate, and there was literally hardly any time in the day to revise for that history assessment. And I thought, if I don't do well on this history assessment, it's going to be embarrassing and blah blah blah. And that was literally the first time I felt so much stress build up and be put on me, because I thought, oh god, there's too much to do. And I was like, oh god, like, I cried. I was like not happy, because it was like I wanted to enjoy my weekend, but I had so much to do and I couldn't do it. Like, it was physically impossible for me to do it all. But I did the history assessment, and I think I got a 6, and it was fine. But I don't think it should have been that stressful, because that was literally like, I don't know, like October, September time. Like, it was way near the start of year 11, and I don't think it should have been that stressful to begin with. But that kind of set it up for me, like, this is what it's going to be like. It's always going to be like that one weekend where I'm never going to have anything, like, I won't be able to do it all. And I did think that's what it's going to be like, but it wasn't. That was the only time I felt that much stress so far in my life. Touch wood. I just touched wood. Even during the exams, like, I managed to balance out my revision okay. So, you know, it really just depends how you deal with the stress. But anyway, I was going off topic talking about myself. I need to give advice now. Your teachers, okay, let me just talk about the teachers. So the teachers, obviously, they've been, I don't know if any other school has this, but I had the same teachers from year 9 to year 10. No, year 9 to year 11, but sometimes I even had them since year 7, you know, which was great. And I like the idea that having the same teacher going through the years with you, because they know you, like, well enough to be able to help you in the way that you need to be helped. And a lot of these teachers, they just want the best for the students. Some of them don't. Some of them just want to look good and get good results for themselves, which I think is probably the most selfish thing that you can do. But that's only like a handful of teachers. It's not like most teachers do have the best interest at heart for the student. And just know, like, if you are really stressed, go talk to them, because they, like, if you've done a mock exam and you don't think you've done good, like, and you feel like they're disappointed, like, go talk to them, because genuinely, I don't think they will only care if you show that you don't care, you know. They'll only be worried if you seem like you're not giving it your all. And also, you can't always be 100% with everything. You can't always have energy to do things. Like, you got to give yourself the understanding that you're not always going to be on your top game. Like, the only time that you really need to be, you know, doing your best and, like, being at your top is during, like, the May to June exam times, because that's what's the most important thing. I do think that some teachers do, when they have an expectation of you, it's probably way harder than if they didn't, because having someone else to kind of impress with your grade is probably worse than just doing it for yourself. Luckily, I kind of just didn't allow grades to kind of take over my head, because, you know, at the end of the day, what I get is what I get. Like, I can't, as long as I've done my revision, I can't do anything more than that. I can just do what I can do, like, you know what I mean. But I know if there's, like, really high expectations of you, it can get a bit, like, much to try and keep up the energy when you may not even feel like you can. Like, you may just feel awful. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like and teachers always tell you when you're in year 10, they're like, guys, focus, because you're going to be in year 11 soon, and if you don't do well, like, that's, you know, you want to do well, like, they keep going on about it. In year 11, they're always like, guys, like, obviously in year 11, my classes tended to be more quiet anyway, because, I don't know, people started to get a little bit more focused, which was good. But, you know, the teachers would always be like, guys, your exams are coming up, like, you gotta focus, and, like, it's a constant reminder having your teacher say it, and I know they're trying to just let you know, but sometimes you don't want to always know about that, because sometimes you're just trying to live your life, and then they're like, guys, your exams are coming up, and you're like, stop, no. But just take it as like a little reminder. Doesn't mean that you have to get revising right then and there, but like obviously plan to do it at some point, So I just wanted to cut in and talk a little bit more about like the actual starting year 11, because I know I've been quite broad and talked about the whole of year 11, which is useful for you to know, because it kind of like sets you up to, know what to actually do when it comes to each situation. But, at the moment you're going to be the most stressed about starting school, because that's all you're thinking. Well, not all you're thinking about, but that's the main part you're thinking about. And obviously, like, I can say as much as I can, but it may not fully erase all of your worries and anxieties. And obviously, if you have anything that you need answering, like any questions, please put them in the comments. I will happily answer them all. A lot of like my worries when I was going in is that the workload would be all of a sudden, like right as I go back, it will all come crashing down, and like the workload will be intense, like as soon as I get back. But obviously, like in the moment, it will be gradual, and you won't really tell until it gets more near the end, when it's like, you actually have to focus now, because it is exam time and it is the most important time. But like when you go back, it won't be straight away you'll see it. Like obviously the teachers will be saying homework, which is normal, and I know like a lot of people don't like homework, but at the end of the day, just take it as a time to kind of have a little bit of revision when you get home. Like just don't see it as like an inconvenience. Just try and utilize it as much as possible. Like obviously if there's any circumstance at home that you like can't do it, hopefully teachers will understand that, but you know what I mean, like try to utilize as much as you can. When you go, like the first day should be okay, and you shouldn't have a lot to do, and that goes for like the first week or two. Other tip I have is just like try and like don't get into too much drama, because I know like we're teens, like we're always gonna like, you're not going to get on with everyone, it's like people are different, people don't get along, people get along, you know what I mean? But like try to steer clear of anything that could kind of take over your mind and kind of become a priority when it shouldn't really be a priority, because it's kind of pointless, because you're going to be leaving school anyway unless you're staying for sixth form. So like if you're getting into unnecessary like drama with people, like you're going to leave them anyway. Just try and like put that aside, or put it to bed. Like to have time to be with your friends, enjoy yourself. Like at lunch, take time to enjoy yourself. Like don't be too caught up on the exams to begin with. Like it's when you're in the moment, like I don't really know how to explain it, but in the moment you're not really too, it's like what you're thinking about right now is probably like, oh my god, like everything's exams and like everything's gonna be hell and like blah blah blah. But like when you're in the moment, you don't really feel like that. It's just like you're going into school to do your daily routine where you go to your lessons and you do your work, and yes, it's boring, but it's not overly stressful. It's only stressful near the end, or when too much is piled onto you. Set your priorities straight. So if there's a subject that you don't understand, put that one first in any circumstance to revise it, because it's better to kind of like, obviously some subjects that like don't typically matter, like that aren't core subjects, like I would say focus on making sure that your core subjects are strong, and like if you do, like try and get like any help that you need, try and talk to your teachers as soon as possible if you are struggling really bad with it. After that, like do try and make sure that you are doing as well as you can in every subject, but yeah, focus on the ones that you aren't doing typically too good on. I'm going to get back to the rest of the video now, but yeah, please listen to everything else I say, which may be more in the future for you, but it will be useful to kind of know. But I don't want to stress you out with all of this information. I don't want to like make it seem like exams will be really good and really nice, and like I found them great. Like I did find them at the time, I found them okay. Like obviously in the exam hall I didn't, like the day of the exam I didn't, but the being in study leave and stuff like that, I did find that nicer than being at school at the time, obviously. But like, don't get me wrong, the exams were stressful, you know. I'll just get onto that a little bit later, but yeah, I'll take you back to past Holly now. And I now want to talk about like each term in year 11 and what you should be focusing on, because this will be helpful for if you're going into year 11. Okay, September term, so term 1, I don't know if other schools do it like that, so I'm just going to say what month like roughly it would be. But September, it's more of just getting prepared, really. You're just settling back in because it's been like, I don't know, is it, how many weeks off is that? 6 weeks. It's been 6 weeks off, you know. People's brains aren't going to be too much in gear because, you know, you've had your time off, you've had your fun, like, you know, coming back in. They will give you, hopefully, a little bit of time to settle back in, you know, get ready and just talk to you about exams. They will probably just, you know, get, like, for the first few weeks, they'll get you your notebooks, they'll be telling you what you're going to be learning for the next couple of weeks and, like, what the exams may be like, possibly, but they will be kind of just making sure you know what the end goal is, and it is exams. And then, like, as you progress further, there was Christmas mocks for me, because actually my year, they didn't know whether we were going to do exams, but it was quite obvious we were going to, but obviously they wanted to have evidence, so we did quite a few mocks. Typically you do lots of mocks, but I don't know if we did more. I don't know, we did seem to do a lot of mocks, so. But yeah, hopefully you don't have to do too many, but I would say around Christmas time and then like March time, you'll do like another set of mocks. Like there'll be quite like a couple. But yeah, these mocks, they're not anything to really stress about. Like practice revising, practice getting into the exam mode, but don't take it as, if I fail this, like my life's over. Like genuinely, it's just to see where you are. Yeah, it's like, I think it's best to know how to revise early on. I still don't know my best strategy to revise, I can't lie. By the end of year 11, I did figure out how I wanted to revise and how it was slightly working for me, which was using some online sites that did help. But if you find it earlier on, and revise early on, because please revise early on. Please start, like, don't spend hours and hours, but like if you just spend like 15 minutes a day just going through a couple of topics, or like in each subject have a little look, you know, because your long-term memory lasts way longer than your short-term memory. I think it lasts 30 seconds. Like I think that, like, if you cram, it only lasts for 30 seconds, but your long-term memory, that lasts, I think it's meant to be, like, it's always going to be in your brain, but it depends if you, like, you bring it back up. But, like, it's definitely going to be there and definitely going to stay there. So it's better to revise in way advance than nearer the end. I know that lots of people told me, start making your notes in year 10. Start making everything. Like, get prepared right at the beginning. And I didn't really do that. I can't lie. I didn't make excessive amounts of notes at the beginning. I just kind of took it that when I was in lesson, I'd be doing the learning that I needed to do, which was true. I was doing what I needed to do. If you're someone who struggles in a subject, definitely take time away from school to do a little bit more revision. But I think sitting in the lessons, like, your teachers should be preparing you the way that you need to be prepared. That's how I saw it. But I would also take, like, if you get homework, or maybe use that as a way to see whether it's helping you learn it, or like going online to see if there's any sites that seem to be useful, just so you know in preparation. So the January, February, March era, I think the teachers should be kind of slowing down with how much they're teaching you, and it would be more like revising at this point, because obviously April, that's like the month before you start your exams. So that's going to be a very hectic month, and hopefully, like, I know for me, because obviously we had COVID that hit us quite bad, so we didn't get all the content covered, to be honest. And by the end, I think it was more April that people finished, but it should be more March time that everything's been taught, maybe even earlier. But yeah, and then it'll be more revision, but just kind of go with what your teachers are saying, like, listen to them. If you don't think they're doing what's right for you, and you kind of see that in your results, take yourself away, maybe find a different teacher that, maybe even if they don't teach that subject, but you can kind of rely on them, go see them and like tell them your issues about that one subject and maybe see if they can help you in like a better way to revise, or helping you with putting things like maybe you can come sit with them and revise, blah blah blah. Always use your teachers. Okay, they are there for you at this moment in time. You're their biggest priority at that moment in time. Like, don't feel like you're bothering them, because that's what I felt a lot. I felt I was going to go in and bother my teachers all the time, but they are literally, they want you to ask for help because they want you to do the best you can. When it gets to April, I know I did my first GCSE, not my first one, because I actually did my English Lit in year 10 when it was all COVID, and then, yeah. In April, I did my first of that set. Actually, wait, I did my health and social early on because it was an early on exam. Maybe some like BTECs, they do it earlier on. That will give you kind of a hint to what exams will feel like. So it's good to kind of get in the process of doing an exam. I know the mocks really helped me with understanding what it's like to wait for an exam, get your timetable out, like what seat are you in, make sure you've got nothing in your pocket. Like, it got me into the routine of doing it because I'm someone who likes to know what I'm doing. I'm very, programmed in that way. In April, I did my French speaking, and that one really, like, I was shaking before I went in. I was so nervous, but at the end of the day, I just went in and done it, and it was another thing I could just forget about. Like, I would never have to do that again because I'm never going to do French again. You know what I mean? So you do get rewarded at the end of it. It's a nice reward to have done it, And April, you've got to start thinking about starting revising. Like, start making a revision timetable if that helps you. I know for me, I do not stick to them, so I just have to make a to-do list on the day that I want to revise, or the day before, because I'm more likely to stick to that. But yeah, make a revision timetable and, make sure that you are revising, because it's important to do it at that moment in time. Because, in May, you're going to, like, at the start of May, yeah, you're, like, not doing exams. But then when it hits, like, I think it was my birthday week we started. So the 16th we started for me. Oh, my God. I can't believe I did an exam on my birthday. No, it's fine. But yeah, on the 16th, I had my first exam. And I know from that moment on, your energy is going to drop. You're not going to be able to revise as effectively. And also, at the same time, if you do revise, you're going to want to hope you've done way more in advance, because you're not, like, your short-term memory won't be able to keep as much in, especially if you've got 2 exams on one day. Like, that's going to be difficult. And then when it's May and June, you've just got to focus on those exams. For me, I actually found it really nice because I got to go on study leave. So I was literally just chilling at home. I got to go to my exams in the morning and then just do what I need to do in the afternoon. And I actually found that really nice. I can't lie, it really took off the stress of the exams, because having to go back into a classroom, because I know I had about 2 weeks, 1 week, I don't know, my birthday week, I was still at school, not on study leave. And I know that after doing an exam and having to go back to class, that was not a nice feeling, because it was like, I don't have the energy to focus right now. It just, like, it depends what your school's like. Hopefully they give you a study leave, because it's a blessing. It's a blessing. As long as you revise in it as well. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like. And by the end of June, you're going to be loving life, because ticking that final exam off made my heart. Cramming is something I need to talk about, because I did a little bit of that. Because obviously, over the years, I've been revising, like, occasionally, I've been revising. I've been focusing in lesson as much as I can, sometimes you can't focus in lessons. It's literally out of your control. Like, you know what I mean? But as much as I can, I will focus and I will try my hardest, because I do want to get, like, a good grade out of the 5 years I've been there. But at the same time, there are some subjects like science I really did need to cram right at the end, because I can't lie, there's so much to do in science, and there's no way, like, even if I had done it months in advance, I couldn't remember it all. So I would, before an exam, like, I think the day or two before, because obviously I'm on study leave, I can take my time in, maybe even, like, in my evening, I have the energy to do it as well. I would have a focus on that, doing, like, watching videos, going on Cognito, which was a good website, and just kind of doing these little quizzes to just get my brain in focus. Because even if, like, I wouldn't recommend doing chunks of, like, textbook pages and just writing, that is not going to help you. But if you do little quizzes that just, like, in that exam, it would just trigger your mind. It's going to really, really help you. Cramming isn't as bad as the teachers make it out. They're like, oh my God, never cram. But like, as long as you've already done revision prior, cramming the day before, like, I wouldn't really class it as cramming. I would just say it's like a little bit of revision, like a little quiz, because as long as it's not like the whole subject that you're trying to cram into one day, you'll be fine. And it's like, don't think it's a bad thing. Oh, and year 11, they also like to chuck in a little bit of a future bomb on you and be like, where do you want to go in the future? Like, I know in like January time or Christmas time, I can't really remember when they asked about sixth form, they will be really, really focused on like getting you prepared for your next steps, which is obvious because you're in year 11, but trying to think about exams and where you're going in the future at the same time, it's a bit much, okay? It's a bit much. But you know, this is something I really want to talk about because it's important to know where you're going in the future and have that drive to succeed. I can't believe I said that. My friends, Amy and Parrish, will know, I don't know if they're going to watch this, but they'll know why that sentence was funny. But like, the future path is really important, and it does give you that like motivation to do well if there's a certain grade boundary that you need to get. And to be honest, for me, there wasn't really a grade boundary I needed to meet. And even if there was, I feel like, okay, at the start I wanted to go to college, and there's not really like a grade you needed to get, and it was just for health and social, and I'd already got a distinction in that, so I was feeling good. But I know for some people they had to get like 6s or 7s to get into a certain school, and I know that can be very challenging to kind of deal with. The fact that if you don't do well on an exam, you'll be thinking about how you might not get into something. I can appreciate that. I was also really lucky in the sense that I didn't have to deal with the stress of not getting in somewhere, because I kind of knew, you know, that there wasn't really anything I needed to meet. At the beginning, okay, this is what I need to talk about as well, because your mind can change so easily. At the beginning, I was 100% certain on going to college. Like, I was like, I'm 100% going to go to college to do health and social. Like, there's no way my mind's changing, because it's literally the perfect thing for me. You know, the days are, you know, nice. Like, I can leave if it's lunchtime. Like, there were so many pros about it, but I didn't see the cons at the time. And then I went through the whole thing of like applying, you know, getting an interview, went to the interview and had a look around, and I just got like, in my gut, I was like, this isn't it. Like, I don't feel like this is where I will be going. It was like, I was convinced that I really enjoyed it when I was there, and I was convinced that I really will be going there, even though deep down I was like, no, you're not. And then I kind of considered the thought about going to my school's sixth form, and I'd never thought about that. Like, I was like, never am I going there. It's like the last thing I would do. And trying to get over this pride I had of like trying to get over the pride of not going there. Like, you know, I had to try and remove everything that, because obviously the school isn't great. My school isn't great for just like mental well-being in general. But the sixth form, I know it will be different, and I went to an induction day and I actually enjoyed it. Like, I have to get over myself in the sense that it was good. Okay, what I saw, it seemed like I will be doing all right if I went there, and it will provide me with what I needed. Like, even if you don't know what job you're doing, just think about the subjects that you really enjoy and then kind of like go from that. Here we go. Here's the main bit. Exams. Doing the exams. How are they and what are they? We had an exam timetable. You had to, obviously be there on time, and you had to know your seat because you have to sit in a certain seat because they've chosen it for you. Make sure your pockets are completely clear, because you do not want a phone in there. You do not want a phone in there. I ended up not taking in my blazer to some of them because I was just like, I'm not going to risk it. Why would I want to risk taking my blazer in? Like, I can literally just not have it. And like, in that exam hall, like, the teachers aren't there. Like, you've got no one to feel pressured about apart from those what are they called? Examiners. Invigilators that literally walk around watching you. Like, what are you doing? Like, go away. But most of the time, you can kind of forget they're there. In like a exam that you're feeling confident in, the time flies. Like, it really does. And you feel like, probably at the end of it, you're like, oh God, like, I've got hardly any time left. But as long as you've completed as much as you can, My biggest tip is to just do the ones that you can do at the beginning, because you're going to be fast at that. If you start and you see like the first page and you can't do any of them, but you're sat looking at them for the whole, like, for about let's say you've just looked at them for 5 minutes and you're struggling, but then you could have, instead of spending 5 minutes on that, you could have looked at it like for, like, I'd say 20 seconds. You'll be like, okay, I can't do that, I'll move on. Those 5 minutes you could have done about 4 questions, 5 questions, depending on how well you know them, but you could have done more questions in that time. And then at the end, you'll have way more time to go back and actually think it through and think about what you can put that may make sense. In my science exams, I did end up creating some random answers, but I knew as long as I put something down, that's the best I could do. Like, if I didn't know it then, when will I know it? You know what I mean? When you're sitting there, you just know. Like, there's no way you can know it if you don't in that moment. So, like, might as well just have a bit of fun. Like, write down, because I know on one of the science ones, it was like, what's the first drug ever created? And someone said, like, a lot of people actually said paracetamol, and, like, at least they put something, like, you know. But yeah, when you're in an exam and you don't know something, like, this is something I really need to talk about, because it's stressful, because there is no way out. As soon as you sit down, you've just got your brain and your hand to write, and the sheet of paper, like, you know, the exam paper. You're left to just your brain alone. You have no teachers to tell you that, like, you're going to be all right or give you a little bit of advice. You don't have a textbook to tell you answers. It's just you. And that is probably the scariest thing, because you don't know whether you will know it. I did a history paper, the Anglo-Saxon one, and I was confident I knew a lot. I revised so much, okay, which is probably the worst feeling out of it, because I revised everything but this one thing, because I forgot about it. And when I got in there and I saw the question of Tostig, I can't particularly remember what the question is about, but I knew about him, but not about this certain part of his story. I just felt like I wanted to cry, and, like, I felt like I knew it, but I couldn't think of it. And I was stressing so much, and I saw it and I just had to move on. Like, to begin with, I didn't stress too much, because I was like, I'm literally moving on. I can't even think about that. I put down a couple of things and I just moved on, because I'm like, I don't want to stress myself out. I don't want to start crying and not be able to finish the paper. I have to do what I can. Oh my gosh, the rest of the paper was alright. It wasn't my favorite. It was actually not great, but I did manage to feel confident with some of them. Then I came back to it at the end, kind of tried to calm myself down, and realized I had, like, I don't know however long I had left, and I was just like, at the end of the day, it's Anglo-Saxons, you know. Just make something up. Like, just say something about taxes, just say something that could be logical. And at the end of the day, I think I will get a couple of marks for it. I won't get full marks. No way on earth will I get full marks for that question. But I may get a couple of marks because I tried it. The exams, they are made to seem like terrible, like the horror, like the worst things you're ever going to experience. And it could be. Okay, I'm not saying it's not going to be. It could be. But for me, I thought it would be. And I actually think, okay, someone's going to hate me for saying this. Someone is actually going to bully me. But I kind of enjoyed it. Okay? Only the ones that I knew stuff about, because being able to sit in there and share my knowledge on something that I enjoyed, not in the subjects I didn't enjoy, like science. But I did get a science paper. I think it was chemistry paper 1, and no, not paper 1. Oh my god, not paper 1. That was the worst one. Chemistry paper 2 and biology paper 2. They were blessings. I don't think I've wanted to jump and scream at a paper in so long, because I don't understand science, but I was understanding this paper and I was writing it down and I was loving life, and I actually felt excited about it. I was like, this could change my grade. This could really help me. I know some people will look at this video and think I'm not like that. I don't think I'll be able to revise like that. I don't think I'll have the motivation like that. And that is completely understandable. And I don't want to sit here and make people feel like, you know, it was fun for me because I revised and I know everything. Like, I don't know everything. Some exams I didn't know stuff. Some exams I did know stuff. Like, you know, it depends what you're good at. I'm lucky in the sense that I am academically, like, I do all right academically. I know some people can't, like, focus in the way that others can. and some people are demotivated and they just like don't have the motivation to do it. But I feel as long as you do your best, that's all you can do. And you know, do not ever let the stress take you over to the point where you don't have any energy for the final exams. Main focus is being in the right headspace for those final 2 months. Oh my gosh, there's like fluff everywhere. You want to be in the headspace for the final 2 months. Nothing else matters, just those final 2 months. If your teachers like question you on why like you're not revising enough, and you literally like the night before you've had a mental breakdown and you've not been happy, just ignore them, because they don't understand what's going on in your life. You want to just focus on you. You don't want to please anyone else. It's no one else's grade at the end of the day. It's your grade, and you're the only one that you should be thinking about in that moment. Be selfish. Like, be selfish. It's fine, because why would you try and like, obviously I know some people's parents like want them to get a certain grade, but why would you want to please someone else when all you should be thinking about is pleasing yourself? If you are someone who's really like, you know, you got to get a certain grade, I would just recommend really focusing on like revising and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully I've given enough advice. If not, I'll film again. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a lovely summer holiday, and hopefully this can ease some of your stress, because I know it was very stressful leading up to going into year 11, but at the end of the day, it's done now for me, and look at me. I'm enjoying myself. Like, I'm loving life. Like, not gonna lie, the year 11 summer was really hyped up, and it isn't what it seemed to be, but like, I was so excited to finish my exams. Like, it's so rewarding. I can't lie. It's the most rewarding feeling I've ever felt. Like, to be able to finish those 5 years from year 7 to year 11 and just be done with it. And now I can focus on something I actually like. In sixth form, I'm doing 3 subjects that I'm going to enjoy. Like, yes, it's going to be a lot of work. I know it's going to be a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be awful in the sense of that. But it's 3 subjects that I'm interested in. So it's not like I'm doing history again. Goodbye, history. Goodbye, my history teacher. No, he lives in the same town as me, and I'm actually on edge that he's going to find me one day. Anyway, goodbye, guys.